Hey everybody, happy Friday! Last day of distance learning. This is the last day you have to do any work and turn it into me. Anything else that I give you or anything else you want to do is totally up to you. There isn't going to be anything from me from now on, unless you request it. But I'm not going to be making any trips, passing out packets, or assigning any work online anymore, unless your parents tell me otherwise. So, if they want to ask for some extra work, they are more than willing. More than willing to make things for you. But you do have a caterpillar to take care of. You cannot just let that caterpillar go. You need to make sure you're taking care of it. And while yours are growing, so are mine. They're even bigger than yesterday. Some of them have gone to the top, but then they go back down to the bottom. So they're not quite ready to, can you see them? That's really close. Make their chrysalis, but they're getting there. They are. So even though your work is done for the year, I'll still be in contact with you. There's still some things we got to do. Get you the stuff that you have, all your work that was left in the classroom. That's all going to come to you. We're going to work all that out, talk to your parents. There's a couple things I'm going to need from them and from you, just so we can finish up the year on a good note in the way that I normally would if we were still together. So I'm going to go ahead and read the next chapter, and I'm going to make these videos for the next 2 weeks until this book is done, because I'm technically still working. So I'm going to be making these videos for you guys. If you want to read them, read along with me, just because we want to know what's going to happen at the end of the book. If Miss Jules comes back, if Mrs. Drazil goes away. So I'm going to keep doing these videos and keep reading with you until the book's finished. So what I'm going to do is get ready for the next chapter, which is chapter 18, The Blue Notebook. And we all know the notebook is something Miss Drazil doesn't want anyone to touch. So let's find out what's going on with that. They had a plan. It all depended on Sherry. Everyone just hoped she wouldn't fall asleep first. Sherry often fell asleep in class. Come on, Sherry, thought Dee Dee, you can do it. Sherry looked out the window. The sky was full of big, fluffy clouds. She yawned. The clouds looked like giant pillows. Sherry imagined herself wrapped up in one of those clouds, soft and cozy. She pulled her blue and red overcoat snugly over her head. Her eyes closed, then they opened wide. What's that? She shouted. Sherry, said Mrs. Drazil. Look, shouted Sherry, pointing out the window. It's a... Hurry! Her long eyelashes stuck straight out. Mrs. Drazil hurried to Sherry's desk. What is it? A spaceship, said Sherry, from outer space. On the other side of the room, Dee Dee dropped her pencil. She bent down to pick it up, then stayed down. Dee Dee was part of the plan, too. She had a dangerous mission. She had volunteered for it. She felt it was her duty, since she was the one who had brought Louis up to meet Mrs. Drazil in the first place. You don't have to do it, Ron had told her. Mrs. Drazil would have seen Louis sooner or later. No, I'll do it, Dee Dee said bravely. Dee Dee had bravely replied. Now she crawled across the floor. Mrs. Drazil looked out the window. Where? She asked. Wait, it went behind a cloud, said Sherry. What did it look like? Asked Mrs. Drazil. Like a giant hamburger, said Sherry, but there was a zizzle stick hanging down from the bottom. Dee Dee crawled on to the teacher's desk. She reached up and quietly opened the top drawer. She removed the blue notebook. Mrs. Drazil stared out the window. What's a zizzle stick? She asked. I don't know, Sherry said very mysteriously. They don't have them here on Earth. Dee Dee crawled safely back to her seat. At recess, everyone crowded around Dee Dee as she went through the blue notebook. Louis once put a frog in Mrs. Drazil's shoe, she said. Why wasn't her shoe on her foot? Asked Jenny. It doesn't say, said Dee Dee. There's a whole list of bad things Louis did, and he made it sound like Mrs. Drazil picked on him for no reason. No wonder she put a trash can on his head, said Todd. What else did he do? Asked Eric Bacon, who was always looking for new ideas. But Dee Dee had already turned to the page. There are other kids a lot worse than Louis, she said, flipping through the pages. What are you looking for? Asked Ron. I don't know yet, said Dee Dee, but I'll know it when I see it. She saw it. It was a note to Mrs. Drazil from a girl named Jane Smith. Dee Dee read it aloud. Dear Lizardface, guess what? I didn't do my homework again. Ha ha ha. And there's nothing you can do about it because you're too stupid and ugly. Ha ha ha. My family is moving away tomorrow, and you don't know where. Ha ha ha. Rub a monkey's tummy. By the time you get this letter, I'll be gone. Rub a monkey's tummy with your head. Love and kisses, Jane Smith. Everyone was shocked. How old is that letter? Asked Myron. Dee Dee checked the date, then did the math in her head. Jane Smith wrote it 26 years ago. And look, said Ron, reading over Dee Dee's shoulder, Jane didn't do her last 12 homework assignments. After recess, Sherry saw the UFO again, and Dee Dee returned the notebook to Mrs. Drazil's desk. Now all they had to do was find Jane Smith. So I guess they think that Mrs. Drazil kidnapped her or did something with her, so they are now going to have to try to find her, and then maybe they can use that against Mrs. Drazil and get rid of her. So the next chapter I'm going to come back to you with on Monday is chapter 19, and it is called Time Out. All right, so even though there's no more work, I will be back on Monday to read to you guys again. Update on caterpillars. A lot of them, I bet, will be making their chrysalis this weekend. So there's a good chance on Monday you will get to see some chrysalises in my cup and probably in yours. Keep me updated, send me pictures, and I hope you're glad that the work is finished for the school year. It's pretty awesome. I will be back Monday, and I hope y'all have a good weekend.